Seems to be recording now.
Hello, hello. Do you want some mouth sounds?
How about some blow nose sounds? Nice, eh? You're welcome. But where's the tan? Well, okay, I guess I'll just start. Hello, everybody, and welcome to 30-something podcast. Oh, hello.
Hello. Were you keeping everyone entertained? Or shall we start again?
Start again.
Okay. I think I was on the Wi-Fi upstairs, so it was not very good. Okay, let's start again. Hello, everybody.
Whoa.
And hello, Sasha.
Hello, everybody, and hello, Tanya.
Welcome back. I've lost my script. Give me 1 second. Okay, here we go.
You have a script?
Well, just the notes. Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 5.
5.
Indeed, of the 30-something podcast. Hit quite a special milestone yesterday, which was that it was launch day. The launch party. It was really nice. Look, I wanted a little launch party just because I think it's okay to celebrate your achievement sometimes and force other people to celebrate with you. So that's what I did with just a small handful of friends here in Portugal. And one of my best friends hosted us in her house, and she very cutely bought some balloons and wrote 30-something on them. And then she bought those like little, what do you call them? The ones that go boop.
Oh, I don't know what they're called.
Party. It's like little paper things that roll out.
They're not party poppers, are they?
No.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, we all know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And she made like a cheese board and bought some Prosecco and stuff like that. So we had a fun time. And it was good to know that during the watching of the 3 episodes, it triggered a lot of conversation. Like we kept having to pause and like have a chat because everyone wanted to share their perspective. So I was glad to know that it was
at least engaging.
Stirring things up, engaging, yeah. And people found you particularly funny, which was
I am
nice.
particularly funny.
You are particularly funny, yeah. And I also
we've received
realized
some nice feedback so far.
Yeah. And I don't think we're very good yet, and that's okay. I think we're okay, and it will get better. Like I was obviously listening to myself just thinking, "Oh my god, you just talk so much poo-poo."
Yeah, me too.
Half the stuff that comes out of my mouth is such poo-poo. But also, do you
have any specific examples?
Oh, just in like episode 2 when you were like you were getting so annoyed with the questions I was asking, and I was trying to explain what I was trying to say, but like terribly. I was sitting there like, oh my god. Like, this is embarrassing. But
no, I don't think it's embarrassing. I think you come across a lot smarter than I do. Because I'm just like, I don't know. You're like asking really insightful questions. I'm like, I don't know how to answer this. I'm getting frustrated now.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I do a lot of, I don't really, and then I just waste loads of time actually not saying anything.
Yeah, we'll get better. Anywho, shall we get into our topic? Or is there something else to say?
What's our topic for today, Tantan?
Sasa, our topic for today is, well, this is also pretty broad, but we're doing a lessons learned in our 20s. And I reckon this is going to be a part 1 because there's so many lessons that I've learned, at least in my 20s.
Yeah.
Lessons on love, lessons on friendship, lessons on confidence, career, yada, yada, yada. But we've got a handful of lessons to talk about today, don't we?
Yep.
Okay, let's get straight into it then.
Yeah.
So the first one that I was going to touch on is actually a lesson I had to unlearn. I learned it and then I unlearned it in a way.
Oh, interesting.
So I was in a 10-year long relationship up until a few months ago. And so a lot of the lessons I've learned were around love and relationship and commitment and all that stuff. And for a long time, I felt quite strongly that you should not go to sleep angry. Don't know where I got that from.
I think loads of people say it, don't they?
Yeah, loads of people say it, exactly. So somehow I absorbed it. I don't know what the rationale. Well, I think the rationale for me at the time was that going to sleep angry maybe sort of like embeds it into your body more.
I think that's the idea. Yeah. Like, I think it's that, or like when you wake up, you won't want to deal with the problem anymore. You'll just be like, well, it's a new day, and then things will just build up, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. So like there might be a tendency to just sweep it under the rug the next day. So you're not actually addressing it, and then you end up with built up resentment and whatnot. But and like both me and my partner tried to follow that advice to not go to sleep angry. But what it meant often was that if something happens, say it happens at night, okay, 9 p.m., you're angry, you're upset, you suddenly feel like you've got to rush through not only your processing of your own emotion, but rush through the resolution of it in a period of time when you're already tired and the emotions are heightened. And doing all that when you're tired, it can really make things worse. And you just end up digging yourself a hole sometimes.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
You say more things you regret. You catastrophize it more in your mind because you're tired. And that's what happens when you're tired and it's late.
Totally.
It's a bad idea to fight late at night.
Yeah. Being tired really changes things. Like, duh, it does. But yeah, like, and you end up hurting yourself more, and then you probably go to sleep angry anyway. Like, you might have somewhat come to a resolution, but if it was not a well-paced, productive resolution, you're probably going to go to bed feeling a bit crap anyway. So I had to unlearn that at some point, and it's probably only a few years ago, maybe.
Well, also, it's not just like that it's a bad idea to stay awake angry and try to like fight it out while you're angry and tired. It's also a good idea to sleep, I think, because sleep heals all. If you're tired, sleep. If you're sad, sleep. If you're angry, sleep. You'll feel better.
Yeah, you like sleep.
I'm sure there's more, but sure.
Yeah, sleep does cure all. But I will say, so if you accept to put a pause on your conversation, go to sleep, I'm quite adamant that it's still important in that period of time, okay, to show love in some way. So like avoid silent treatment if you can. That doesn't mean you've got to like engage in loads of conversation, but like don't ignore the person. If small things that I like to do is just, if you get into bed, just give them a cuddle, or you don't have to say anything, just give them a cuddle, or say love you, good night. Or if you can't even muster that because you're so angry, maybe just a little touch of the feet.
Why'd you have to mention feet?
Why not?
Why are you bringing feet into this?
Because feet feels very low commitment. It feels very low stakes.
We should put that on a t-shirt for our first merchandise.
Feet feels low commitment. But it's like low stakes, Look at me, I'm crying already. I was saying this when we were watching our episodes. I was like, both you and I cry so easily when we laugh.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Is it like a Asian eyes thing? Let us
Maybe
know
it's a
in the comments.
Scottish Chinese thing.
Let us know in the comments how many chuckles it takes for you to cry, and whether you're Asian.
Interesting.
I'm
How many
kidding.
chuckles? Do you think it's about how many or the strength of them?
I think it's about the strength.
Um, okay, but going back to what you're saying about showing love even when you're angry as you go to bed, maybe that's what they mean by don't go to bed angry. Instead of don't go to bed until you're not angry anymore, maybe they mean just don't act angry when you go to bed.
Don't act angry. Maybe, but angry is the emotion. You can be angry and still show love, just to signal like we'll get through this, or
Yeah.
we're okay. Which I think for some people it's really important to receive that. If
Yeah.
you're like an anxious partner, or I don't know. But yeah, the foot thing, it's kind of cute and it's kind of low commitment. Like if you don't feel like kissing somebody or like cuddling them, just like a little touch of the feet.
I don't know, maybe I've been single too long that the thought of like touching my foot to someone's foot when I'm angry with them feels so intimate.
Oh, okay. So it's not low commitment to you.
Yeah.
So what is the lowest commitment touch
Maybe I
you
would
could
put my
muster?
hand on their arm or something
Okay.
when I
Like a
say
pinky to
goodnight.
pinky for like a
Maybe
second.
little toe to little toe.
Just like hook onto them.
Like a pinky like a pinky promise.
Just hook onto
They'd
them
be
and go
like,
to
"What are
sleep.
you doing? I'm angry at you right now."
Yeah, and anyway, so if you do that, obviously the next day you'll feel rested, you'll have a bit more perspective, you might be more willing to see how you were wrong, and you can time your conversation a little bit better. So that was something that I did learn indeed.
Very important lesson. I think I learned the same thing in my first long-term relationship. Yeah, pretty early on. We had a lot of fights.
Yeah, you did, didn't you? Thankfully,
Okay, well,
yeah,
oh,
anyway.
go
I
on.
was just going to say, thankfully, my partner and I didn't have a lot of fights, but we worked very hard to learn to have conflict well. Yeah.
The lesson I learned in my 20s that's most related to the one you just said. It's funny that like we kind of both thought of like the same categories of lesson. So the first lesson that popped into my head, knowing the topic, was also about relationships. And it could be romantic or friendship, romantic or platonic. And it's like it's two lessons really, but they're really tied together.
Okay.
So all three of all three of my lessons, I'm gonna say it for the rest of the podcast, are gonna be AKAs. So here goes the
Okay.
first one. I can't make you love me. I
I
can't
can't
make
make
you.
you
Oh,
love me
we're really not in
if
tune with
you
each other.
don't. No, we didn't plan this. You can't make your heart feel. One of the
Sorry
best
about the
songs, I
sniffing.
think. One of the best songs.
Just full stop. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
one of the best songs ever written.
Okay, back to what I was saying. I can't
Okay.
make you love me, aka believe someone when they show you who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Snap.
That was an agreement snap with a bit of
Yeah, I got
joy
that.
in it. Okay.
So, I feel that in my 20s, I learned both of these lessons over and over in different ways. And now I'm in my 30s, I really feel like those lessons are solidified and I can totally follow through on what I learned. So, I'll start with
Nice.
believe people when they show you who they are. This came from really dating for the first time in my 20s because I'd been in a long relationship. And
Just
I
you saying the word
think,
dating makes me feel makes me feel
yeah, I
heavy.
mean,
Just because,
for
so
yourself or for me?
for
Oh,
me, well, I feel that for you too, but that the heaviness is for me because I've never dated ever, and I'm having to contemplate perhaps dating, and I just dread it.
you'll do way better than I did. Anyway, so so it was like I mean, look, I have loads of complexes. I don't want to get into all of it and why I'm bad at dating, but I did have a thing of very easily forgiving and kind of making excuses for the other person if they weren't, let's say, they didn't text me back. Simple example. And I would turn it on myself, and I would have all these insecurities, blah 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 blah. I think is going to be very difficult to talk about this in simple terms, to be honest, Tan. I don't know how I'm going to do this.
It's
Anyway,
okay. Say it complexly.
I think that I had the tendency to, on one hand, forgive and make excuses, and on the other hand, oh, I'm going to have to come back to that one. So, first hand, left hand. This isn't going to work. I didn't plan I was going to talk about this.
Okay, I'm not following the hand thing.
On the one hand,
Oh yeah,
on my
first hand.
left
Okay,
hand,
I'm
on my
following.
left hand, if you're in a dating situation, this is not the type of situation where they deserve all your grace and second chance after third chance after second chance, etc.
Okay, chances coming out of
can,
our
can you
ears.
tell? Can you tell that I haven't rehearsed this? Um, okay, going back.
First hand, second finger.
Let's say that your friend doesn't text you back. You would totally forgive them, and you would easily make an excuse for them.
Totally.
But in a dating situation, that person has not done enough to deserve that from you. And in a dating situation, each person should be putting their best foot forward. And if their best foot forward is not texting you back, then that shows you all you need to know. That's all you need to know. You don't need to think about, oh, why are they doing that? Or, I don't know, whatever it might be. It doesn't matter. They've shown you what their best foot forward is in this situation. And if it's not good enough, believe it. Believe the evidence that you're shown. That was a lesson that was really hard for me to learn.
It's really hard. It's hard because sometimes you might not put your best foot forward, and it's not because you don't have good intentions. Like, things can happen, right? But I think if you value your time and your energy, you've got to be quite strict with the level of behavior that you're accepting, right? Particularly in a dating situation. As you say, I think it's like friends and family, it's a bit different.
Yeah, exactly. And when you put it that way, if I'm thinking like, oh, well, if I didn't put my best foot forward like this, then I know I don't deserve to be dating that person.
Yeah,
Like
like
if
maybe
I'm
you
not
don't
texting them
actually
back, then
care. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
It's not that you don't
So
want to care, but it's like maybe the truth is you just don't care that much.
right, it doesn't matter. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if they want to care or what. I like that's exactly the lesson it is. Like it doesn't matter what they care, what they think, what their reasons are. This is what you're given. Believe it. And it doesn't mean like, oh, this person is a bad person, and believe that.
Sure.
That's not what it means. It's yeah. I think like what the quote that I've requoted is, you know, believe someone when they show you who they are. It's not necessarily who they are, like they're a bad person or
Mm,
they're a flaky person or whatever it might be. It's more like believe their intentions when they show it to you.
mm-hmm.
Like there's no need for you to be doing extra work to like make excuses for the other person and justify what the other person is doing on top of you putting in the effort to date them. But it also goes for any personality traits. Like if a red flag comes up, this guy, oh, I was talking about this with my friend yesterday, deal breakers. If the guy littered, like they just left
Ooh,
their rubbish on the bus.
that is a good one. I would hate that.
Yeah. Well, yes, it's a deal breaker. Like, anyway, my friend and I were ranting about this for ages, but like, if
That's a good one.
someone litters on the bus, there's no need for you to be thinking, oh, well, maybe he doesn't always do that, or oh, whatever, whatever, what. You saw him litter on the bus. Believe it.
Maybe it slipped out of his fingers. Maybe it. It's like, shut up. That's that's a really tough one because it's like it does indicate some kind of like moral misbehavior, but also it's so minor
Hmm.
in reality. It's like it doesn't impact a relationship necessarily, but it's like such a turn off.
I think it's a very small representation of a very big thing that could affect a relationship.
Yeah, maybe. Like what?
Well, why surely something as low effort as picking up your litter, but which is so damaging if you don't do it. Like, what is going through your mind that you would be like, well, I'm not going to do it? That's the same thing in a relationship. Like, with small things, I'm watching Married at First Sight Australia at the
Uh-huh.
moment. I watch it every year, but there's this guy who wears his shoes and then puts his feet up on the sofa or even puts his shoes on the bed like that's where they
Oh,
go or
gosh.
something. And the woman's like really upset, like, okay, a bit too upset. She's crying and stuff. But to be honest, it's like, and he refuses to change. He's like, I don't like being told what to do. No, 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 no. And it's like, sure, like it's something so small, but it's upsetting your wife so much. What's your problem? Just do
Yeah.
it.
Just
Get your
do
dirty
it.
feet off the bed.
Yeah. Totally. Totally. And I think the littering thing, it's also a sign of like selfishness and like your view of the world and your like the role that you should play in a community or society, and that like
Yeah.
you don't mind, you know, affecting your environment in a negative way just for a minor convenience of
Mm-hmm.
not having to hold your litter. Yeah, it is a
Mm-hmm.
big sign.
It's pure selfishness for no good reason. It's not even, I was saying this yesterday, it's not even fun.
No,
Like,
it's not
okay,
even cool.
if the person you're, exactly, if the person you're dating does something else that's on the same level in terms of like damaging to their environment, like I don't know, they do graffiti, at least you can understand like, okay, it's
At least it's
cool, it's
cool.
fun, it's expressive, you're breaking the rules and that's fun. Littering, really?
Yeah,
Like, what are
that's the
you getting
lamest of
out of
lame.
this?
The lamest of red flags. Totally.
I had a, a second hand on the second
Oh,
hand, my
go
right
on.
hand. But because I didn't write this down, I'm finding it very difficult to remember.
Okay, take your time.
Okay, well, I don't remember what's on my right hand. But I do want to say that I think this can be in a positive light as well. If you're dating someone or you're getting to know someone, if they show you who they are in a positive way, believe them as well. Don't let your I don't know insecurity or
Mm,
whatever walls you have up cloud your judgment. Especially if
mm,
this person is being consistent in that positive way, whatever it might be. maybe he's texting you back really quickly every time. Then believe that that shows that they're putting in effort or that they're very communicative, whatever you want to interpret from it, I suppose.
Heck yeah. Are you sure that wasn't your second hand?
It wasn't my second hand. No,
That
my
was a
second
third
hand was
hand?
definitely negative.
Oh, okay.
No, it's the back of the
Yeah.
left hand.
Yeah. I think that's a great one for sure. Like it's very easy to get into like, oh, this is too good to be true, or like a why are they so obsessed with me thing. But it's like, what if they're just good? What if they're just showing you that they are good, and it's okay to accept it?
Yeah.
With
So
you.
on the theme of hands, hand in hand with this believe someone when they show you who they are thing is I can't make you love me.
I
Oh,
can't.
yes, this
Oh, have we got the second hand?
this is the second hand. Yeah, I don't know why I got confused in my mind. I already put it into left hand and right hand with the AKA.
Okay.
my,
All right, we
my,
got there in the end.
my topic structures.
This is going to be difficult to edit.
So chaotic today. Um, was this my second hand? Well, anyway, I can't make you love me. Okay, so it's not just about like, okay, using the example of I'm dating someone, they haven't texted me back, I'm making excuses for them, I'm forgiving them, I'm doing all this mental work. I'm also thinking, well, maybe they aren't interested, but I can still make them interested. Maybe if I don't make a big deal of them not texting me back, they'll realize that I'm really chill and they'll text me back.
Cool girl.
This is the kind of thinking that went on in my mind all through my 20s. Or another example, let's say that they're showing me that this isn't a real example, but let's say they're showing me that they don't like Harry Potter.
Red
Is
flag.
this a deal? Is
Galore.
this a deal breaker for me? Beige flag, okay? Beige flag. They don't like Harry Potter. This example doesn't work. How do I convince them of anything?
We can convince them to like Harry Potter. I mean, you can try.
I'll use my real life example, which is not
Okay.
about dating. It's in friendship. Especially when you have like long distance friendships, maybe you haven't seen each other in a long time. Maybe in your heart, you're still like, they're still my best friend and I still want to see them. But that might not be true for them. And you can't convince them otherwise. I don't know if that sounds like obvious, but it was definitely a lesson I had to learn quite a few times in my 20s. We've talked about in a previous podcast, we've talked about how our friendships like were so strong in our teens, and then like as we've moved around in different countries and everything, you're not really
ballgame.
with a lot of your friends anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And about I want to say 8 years ago, I tried to plan a big reunion with some of my old friends. I would say with about 8 of them. Only 2 showed any actual interest. One was honest and said, sorry, like, not for
Low
me,
priority.
for whatever reasons, which I respected. But it was really hard to accept what was happening because I was like, but we're old friends. We said best friends forever. We said we would reunite when we're however many years old. And now you're, whatever. I don't know what they were doing. I'm not going to make excuses for them or anything. I don't know why they weren't interested. Maybe they had good reasons. I don't care. I can't convince them. It's not my job. That was a really hard lesson to learn. If
That is
someone
hard.
doesn't want something, even if no matter how much you want it, like there's nothing you can
Yeah.
do about it.
Yeah, it's sad. But what I've learned that's really beautiful, and I feel like I've noticed this more recently as well, is that friendships like that can come back in a really beautiful way. Come back into your life, I mean. And when that starts to happen and you sort of let it and you don't have a lot of like resentment or whatever about the fact that maybe you've lost some of that friendship or distanced yourself from each other, whatever. It's such a beautiful new friendship to have because you have that old foundation. Like I've had a couple of rekindlings that have been really important to me recently, and I would have never thought it would have happened either. Which is goes back to one of the things I was saying in the other podcast about like reach out to someone that you feel drawn to. It might be an old friend that you haven't spoken to in forever, but there might still be something very nice there.
Yeah. Can you hear my stomach grumbling?
A little bit.
Oh dear.
That's okay. It'll make everyone feel like they're in the room with us.
Yeah, well, I don't think that like necessarily what I'm saying is that you have to lose that friendship. I think, you know, if you were to talk to them and if they were to explain themselves to you, you would probably understand. The
Mm.
fact that they, well, in this situation that I'm talking about, they didn't even like respond, you know, whatever, they might have good reasons. And I'm not saying that friendship is over, but there is something of like, I think I can't make you love me. It's kind of like, it's
I
not about me.
can make you love me.
It's kind of the same idea as it's not about me. If someone
Yeah,
isn't interested, it's not about me, and I don't
yeah,
need to do any other work about it.
totally,
Yeah.
totally. All right, let's move on to another one. I think there was a lot
Mm.
of really good stuff packed in there. This one is also a bit big and difficult to explain, I think, but something I've learned is about emotional management and how you respond to your own emotions. And I've learned a couple things here. One is hand number one, okay, is how
You
you
definitely
feel.
can't cut out the hand stuff now.
Yeah. Hand number one is how you feel. Hand number two is how you feel about how you feel. And
Right.
they're distinct things. And hand number two, I've noticed, is often the thing that causes the most pain, the most suffering, the most distress. How you feel about how you feel, i.e., your attitude towards how you feel, or what you're interpreting what you're feeling to mean. Like that is most of the pain sometimes. And what
Can you
I've
give us
tried
an
to,
example?
yeah, like anxiety. So you can feel anxious. And what I used to feel about anxiety when I first started experiencing it, which was only really my early 20s, maybe a little bit before. But my feeling towards it was, it's going to be difficult to put into words, but like that, like I'm so embarrassed about the fact that I feel anxious, particularly because I had a lot of social anxiety, and I, as a younger person, really identified as like a very social person, and I got a lot of my self-worth from my my social skills. Let's put it that way. So I was really embarrassed about it. I was really worried about the fact that I was anxious, like how long am I going to feel this way? How bad is it going to get? What is going to happen if it gets really bad? What am I supposed to do about
Sounds
it?
like you were anxious about being anxious.
Kind of. Yeah, and it's a real spiral when you feel that way. And I worried that I had lost like something in me that I thought was really valuable in my personality. maybe. Like my ability to be really comfortable with people. But all that stuff, particularly with anxiety, as you say, all that stuff is so counterproductive to actually assisting you with the baseline emotion, which is anxiety. And I kind of learned to try to look at it in a very different way. And one particular way of looking at it that's helped me is to try and view a lot of your core emotions as if it was a child inside of you just trying to express themselves or speak to you. Maybe it doesn't know how to say it very reasonably.
My
Your
stomach
stomach.
is so noisy. I'm so
It's okay.
sorry.
Are you really hungry? Should you leave? No, it's fine. It's not very noisy. Yeah, like if I imagine anxiety as a child in me, it doesn't really know why it's feeling the way it feels. It can't really articulate it very well. It might be a little bit irrational. It doesn't have the language for it, but it's just expressing itself in anxiety. My job as the adult in my more conscious mind is to acknowledge it. So if it was a child in front of you, you're not going to be like, oh my God, that's embarrassing. Or like, whoa, what's going to happen if you get worse? Like, obviously not. You're going to acknowledge what it is that is feeling. Firstly, you're going to try and listen to understand what it is that it is feeling. So it's like, okay, it's anxious. Acknowledge, oh, you're anxious. Maybe give it a hug. Maybe ask it like, oh, why are you feeling anxious? Or talk through a more reasonable perspective, maybe. But basically just approach it with love.
And you'd probably say, don't worry, anxiety's normal.
Yeah, it's normal. It's okay to feel this way. Whatever. And also visualizing it as a separate entity to you, I think can really help, because then you don't have to identify with it. Like it might be an emotion you're having in a moment, but it's not who you are.
Yeah.
So I've gotten quite good at that, and still getting better. Sometimes this is going to sound a little crazy. Actually, no, I'm going to save this for a podcast, an episode specifically about anxiety. So stay tuned.
Can't wait to hear what sounds a little crazy.
Yeah. But finally, on this point, treat yourself that way and treat others that way too. Recognize that the emotions that they're expressing to you are a child in them just trying to say something or be seen, be heard, be loved. It's not necessarily who they are. And your response can be loving and acknowledging of that too. And it will help them.
Yeah. And understand that what they're showing you might not be the first emotion, but it could be the second emotion, or even a masking emotion.
Exactly. Exactly. They're telling you how they feel about the fact that they feel that way, but they're not able to articulate how they really feel.
Yeah, like a lot of it makes me think about men. A lot of men,
oh yeah,
I think, express their emotion with the secondary emotion of anger.
Right. It's a secondary emotion, not a primary one. Usually what's under anger is sadness,
fear.
Fear, yeah.
Insecurity. Yeah. Also on the topic of mental health, I had a big lesson in my 20s. Which I had a lot of lessons that came out of my depression that I had, quite a long, moderate depression in my mid-20s. Lots of lessons, and one of my favorites that I still apply is, okay, let's do the AKA thing again.
Okay.
It's not all or nothing. AKA 5 minutes or half-hearted, half-assed is better than being depressed about it. So this was something I learned from CBT cognitive behavioral therapy. And basically they try to teach you like how to do the most basic things, how to like work your mind around doing the most basic things, because people with depression really struggle with that. And so they would teach lots of interesting techniques, but one of them that really stuck with me is, I don't remember what they called it, but the 5 minute technique. Let's say that maybe you're depressed, or maybe you're not that bad, maybe you're just feeling like in a bad mood or whatever, and you really need to work out. This will come back to our
Very
next topic,
nice.
which is very good. You really need to work out, but you just can't. Like, you don't have the energy, or you can't motivate yourself to do it. A lot of the time it's because the idea of working out is too much, it's too overwhelming. Working out is like an hour of discomfort, or whatever you associate with working out. I'm probably going to bring this up later. Sweat, etc. Disgustingness. And especially if you're like a perfectionist about yourself, which I think, well, for me, is closely linked with my depression.
Your perfectionism.
Yeah. This whole lesson taught me that my depression is very linked with, like, well, I can't do that because I can't do it perfectly, so I'm just not going to do it at all. And then you just, spiral. So the idea is you just need to motivate yourself to do it for 5 minutes. Or if you can't do that, you just need to motivate yourself to do it for 30 seconds. And even if you stop at 30 seconds, that's okay. And you have to allow yourself that. And not shame yourself after for not continuing. If you do continue, that's great, and that's kind of the aim. But if you don't, like, it's still better than what you were doing before, which was probably just sitting there and feeling bad about it. And in the same way, if it's not 5 minutes, do it half-assed. Like, okay, maybe you can't run. How about walk? You'll still feel better than doing nothing. And I think this was such a revelation to me as someone who's always been a perfectionist. I don't know if yeah, it is about perfectionism, I think. And like putting high expectations on yourself.
Yeah.
It was almost mind-blowing to me.
Yeah. It's like, what? There's something in between? 0 and 100?
Yeah. Because I am kind of an all or nothing person with a lot of things naturally. Now I'm not. I'm not at all. I'm pretty half-hearted about a lot of things now.
Nice.
Which is, I think, is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because it means I get more done.
Yeah.
And I feel better about myself.
And you experience more. You learn more lessons.
Yeah.
Totally.
When it comes to like really, like, if you're quite severe in a depression or other mental health problem, you can't even brush your teeth. Okay, can you put some mouthwash in your mouth and then spit it out? That's still better. And I love that idea, and I've held on to that, and I've lived by that. I still try to live by that.
Yeah. It's such a good one. It's such an important life lesson. And I think that one of the reasons why it's so helpful is because even if you do the bare minimum, the fact that you're doing it versus not doing it is 50% of the reward psychologically. Mm-hmm. And if you manage to keep that reward loop going, even if it was just like tiny step by tiny step, you are building this sense of trust in yourself, a sense of like, you know what, I can do it. I'm not scared to try. Like, all of that positive reinforcement is super important.
Just start and do it. And,
Yeah, totally. And it links in very nicely to the next topic, actually, which is about fitness. So I'm going to get into some practical stuff, but yeah, really nice. I can't see anything.
Wow.
Damn it. I'm getting pretty strong, guys. Like, I think I'm as strong as I've ever been because I've been working out loads. But before I get into the more practical lessons about fitness, I want to say the same principle that we were just talking to applies to this too, and I've started to take this on, which is just do a little workout. I used to be like, okay, if I'm gonna do, I think it's because I was primarily a dancer that for a long time. I think that was mainly how I got my workout, or when I was younger, it would be like team sports. When I do those things, I'm at 100. Like, I'm really trying, and it's usually for like, at least an hour or 2 hours. So I wasn't used to the concept of just doing a little workout. But
Can I add
yeah,
to that? I
yeah,
think for me, it's like if I'm gonna get like sweaty and uncomfortable and have to go through this and shower after, I might as well get the most out of it that I can
yeah,
and like completely tire out my whole body.
yeah, yeah, I get it. And like, I've been paying for gym recently, but I've been paying by session. So a single session will cost X amount. And I keep thinking like, oh my gosh, I should really make the most of this. But I've insisted to not think that way because what is better for me overall is creating a less strenuous relationship with workouts by not making it so difficult every time. Because if I did, I would just not want to go as often. And like, the gym is not the most enjoyable thing to me. I'm enjoying it more, but it's not the most enjoyable form of workout. And if I made it hard as well, I just wouldn't go. But I want to. I want to be consistent with it. And on days where I have less energy, so for example, like if my period is about to come, I can feel my energy is really low, and I can feel that I can run less on the treadmill, or like my weights need to be lighter. I just let that be. I don't have to keep upping the weight and like, beating my own records. Just go at the pace your body wants to go. And if you do 20 minutes at the gym and you're like, you know what, I'm starting to hate this, just finish it. Just finish. And you'll be like, well, I did it.
Yeah.
So same principle.
Don't let it go to a really low note and then leave
Yeah.
it there for the next time,
Yeah.
for when you need to motivate yourself.
Okay, I want to get into some practical practical advice, which I wish someone would have just given me in a nice little parcel years ago. And I'm going to give that to you now. So you're welcome. And a lot of it is based on a podcast I listened to where there's an expert. Her name is Dr. Vonda Wright. She's an orthopedic surgeon and an expert on mobility. And it's on the Mel Robbins podcast. And her whole thing is about how motion is so important for your health in like a million ways. And that you should always be exercising, using motion from as early age as possible. Duh, we all know that. But she's given, she basically shared like, what is the baseline that you should be aiming for on a consistent basis that doesn't put you at risk of aging really poorly, getting really unfit, like, there are links to dementia and all that stuff. I'm not going to be able to explain this in a very medically correct way, but I've pulled out some tidbits. Okay, so first thing you have to know is that you need a variety of types of exercise on a consistent basis, which is kind of annoying, but the baseline is not very difficult, okay, guys? So one, do some form of flexibility exercise that causes your joints to move in its full range of motion. Just make sure you're doing something that is pushing your joints to its full range of motion. Okay? The other thing is aerobic. Is it? Yeah. Aerobic. You got to take care of the aerobic side. So that doesn't mean run a mile every single day. It just means, at the very least, do low heart rate exercise like walking, a little bit of cycling every day, just a little bit. And then twice a week, you've got to push your cardio to the max. But all you have to do is 30 seconds twice a week of sprinting. And that can be sprinting by running, sprinting by cycling, whatever. But just 30 seconds twice a week. It's very doable.
I was thinking I was going to have to argue with you. No, it's doable.
Yeah. And she was saying that, a lot of people will do cardio in that mid-range between walking and sprinting. So doing like a HIIT class. And she was saying that actually she wouldn't recommend, like, it's obviously going to be good for you to an extent, but she was like, that wouldn't be the strategic way to take care of your cardio, because you're doing it at a level that doesn't push you hard enough to actually improve much of your cardio, apparently. But you're also doing it hard enough that you risk injury. So that's why she's like, often do very easy cardio and just twice a week, 30 seconds of sprinting. So there's that.
Interesting.
Yeah. The other thing, super important, especially for women, is lifting heavy weights. So lifting weights obviously is good for your muscles, which is good for a lot of stuff. But it's very good for your bone density, which for women, we tend to get osteoporosis a lot easier as we get older. And when your bones are brittle, shit happens. You break a hip, you're lying in hospital, you die.
Oh.
Sorry, not necessarily. Sorry, not necessarily. But it's not good.
Sorry to all you whose grandmas are out there with a broken hip, lying in bed.
No. But basically, when you lift weights, you create more calcium and phosphorus in your bones, which makes them denser. And the other thing she said is like a benchmark you should aim for is to get strong enough that you can do at least 11 push-ups. This is for women. You can do at least 11 push-ups, not on your knees, on your feet, which actually is kind of hard because we don't have good upper body strength, but that's the level of strength you should have.
But isn't that very muscle specific?
What do you mean?
I mean, does that mean your legs are strong enough?
Not necessarily. Yeah, so you're right. She didn't give me a nice benchmark for the legs, but she was saying like
we should call her up.
Yeah, I know. What I tend to aim for though is I try to lift weights that are heavy enough that I can only do about 10 reps. Is reps the right word? Is rep like a single push or is it like a set of pushes? I don't know. But basically, like, I can only lift the thing 10 times until failure. That's the weight that is a good benchmark to go for. The other thing to note on this is, so contracting your muscles, it releases a protein which goes into your organs, which keeps them functioning better. And it's just all integrated. Obviously, it's all integrated. But in summary, flex your joints to its full range. Every day, do light cardio, and that could be a walk, a short walk. Twice a week, sprint for 30 seconds. And do heavy weights for your bones and muscles and organs. It's not impossible, right? Does it sound hard?
It's not impossible. I mean, I have thoughts, but can I ask why have you put this into the topic of lessons I learned in my 20s?
Well, because I have learned this lesson, and I think it's actually really, really important.
But didn't you just learn it from a podcast?
Well, a bunch of it I knew before, but this podcast helped me to package it in a nice way.
Okay.
I didn't know.
Learned this in your 20s?
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me?
Yeah. Did I not? Well, to be fair, it was in my late 20s. I started realizing how important all of this stuff was. And by that time, it's like you should have started yesterday. So that's why I wanted to say it, because if you start, it's like never too late to start, obviously, but the later you start, the less benefit it will have for you.
I think like that is obviously really important. I agree. Realistically, I don't think everyone's interested in that. There's a
You don't have to
there's a
be
lot of
interested. I'm
no.
not asking you to be interested.
No. I'm not saying that people aren't going to be interested to listen to what you're saying.
No, I know.
I'm trying to say that people like me who are not interested in exercise for the sake of it need to think about it in other terms. So like
Yeah, but
I
of
think
course you're not interested for the sake of it. But it's your health. That's the sake.
yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to say. Realistically, a lot of people don't
Don't care about their health.
care.
Yeah, fair. Fair enough. So what was your
I'm
point?
not. I'm no. That's. I'm trying to. I'm trying to segue into my point. I'm not trying
Oh.
to invalidate what you said. What you said is really
Okay, yeah.
important.
Hell yeah.
What I'm trying to say is that for people like me who like thinking that way isn't very helpful, because we aren't interested in exercise. What I find helpful, because I know I need to exercise, is combining it with social, because I enjoy the social part. So, what helps me to exercise is having a buddy and using people to motivate me to exercise.
Yeah.
So, I have a swimming buddy. I've
Do
had a
you?
swimming buddy. Yeah, I've had a swimming buddy
Oh yeah.
for quite a while. And it's got me to swim, which is really good exercise. I've had, deals with friends that we're gonna do this exercise or that exercise, and it really helps. Like I know myself, I know realistically, I know I have to do it, but I'm not gonna do it because I'm not good at self-discipline, and I know that I won't enjoy it. So why would I make myself do it? It's just not gonna happen. But if I have a meeting with a friend, there's a pretty small chance that I'm going to cancel that meeting with my friend, no matter if it's to work out, you know? So for me, that's the best tip. It's not about like knowing all the principles of what you have to do to exercise.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, how am I actually going to motivate myself to do that? Because I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And I also, if it comes to like teams, so I always thought I hated team sports because
I
I
was
was
gonna
bad
bring
at
this up.
sports.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was bad at sports growing up, so I always felt like, the one who was holding everyone back if they were nice, and if they weren't nice, I felt embarrassed and like a loser. So, the one form of exercise that I enjoyed for the first time in almost ever, which wasn't dancing. Dancing I've always enjoyed. But this was ultimate frisbee with you and the gang. And because our ultimate frisbee group was such a fun group, and it was like
I miss
it
it.
was like as much a social event as it was exercise. In fact, the exercise was secondary.
Yeah. Just having fun was primary. Being silly.
Yeah, yeah. But the exercise was intense for sure.
Oh yeah.
So that really helped me like reshape how I felt about sports and exercise.
I'm
So
so glad.
if you can find the right people to either be your buddy or to help you feel good and just have fun instead of thinking about the exercise, that's the way I think.
I was so glad to see you enjoying yourself playing a team sport.
Yeah.
And to
It
do it
was
with
like
me
it was
because like we never really did it together.
yeah,
And
it's
I'm
true.
I'm really grateful that I naturally always enjoyed team sports and dancing because because I just found them so fun. It meant that I was like physically very active as a child, and I've had to sort of like force myself to kind of enjoy doing the gym, but thankfully I had that kind of embedded already.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's true. And whoever finds exercise fun is so lucky.
Mm.
So lucky. Because exercise in itself is like the least fun thing I can think of.
Really?
And yeah, and so it's rare to find something that I find fun and it's good exercise. And if I
Yeah.
do, I'm like, yes, I'll do that one. I need to find a buddy to do this one with me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but Ultimate
Nice.
Frisbee was so much fun. And then, like, the intensity of the exercise and the cardio, I think, like, made that endorphin rush, or is it in,
Mm-hmm.
is endorphin the right word, or
Mm-hmm.
serotonin, or
That's
whatever?
endorphins. Well, it's probably a combination,
Endorphin
but
is the general word for, anyway.
yeah.
So intense, like I would feel like I was like ecstatic, and I
Yeah.
felt like a kid again. It was so great. I
Cute.
loved it. I miss it.
Ultimate Frisbee is fun.
Maybe we should
Slipping
start a
through my
new.
fingers all the time. I try to capture every minute.
Does
That's a
Ultimate
song that,
Frisbee make you think of that song?
yeah,
Oh,
always. When I'm playing Ultimate Frisbee, I always think slipping through my fingers all the time because the Frisbee's always slipping through my fingers.
mm.
Um, so we've spoken about kind of lessons that are applicable to all, but I'm curious, is there a specific lesson that you've learned about yourself that was important in your 20s?
Yes. Let me blow my
How
nose.
convenient. Okay. The feeling in it,
Okay.
slipping through my fingers all the time. Okay.
Yes, there is. And let me tell you all about it. Well, you only asked me this question today, and I found it really difficult actually to think of something. But then when I did, it was so clear. And
Okay.
also, it was something that I learned like in my early 20s rather than mid or late 20s. So it's something that I forgot that I learned.
Mm.
So I think like when you're building your sense of who you are, you're young and you've got the context of your family or whoever you are, and so your the way that you're understanding yourself is in comparison to other people, right? So a lot of the things that I've always thought about myself or did always think about myself were like the things that were different to you
Mm.
as my sister or to our parents or whoever. So a lot of the things I believed about myself were, for example, that I'm not a musical person, that I don't like music. I'm not interested in music. And I thought that because you were so musical and our mom was like always listening to music, you were always listening to music, and there was always music in the house, and it was never my music. So I thought I wasn't interested in music. That's one thing. Another thing I always thought about myself was that I'm like not an active person at all. As in, so we grew up mostly with the three of us two and our mom. So I'm comparing mostly to you two. The two of you were people who didn't like to stay at home and you wanted to go out every day. And I didn't necessarily want it as much as you guys. So I always thought that I was like a real homebody who wasn't active in
Home buddy.
homebody.
Yeah. You said home buddy, which is cute.
But it feels like it should be a homebody.
Yeah, no.
A homebody? Okay.
Yes, home buddy.
I was a homebody. I thought I was a real homebody. And
It's starting to not make sense anymore, that word. Home
I
buddy.
know. And then, kind of related to that, like I always thought I was a huge introvert because, in comparison to you, who was a huge extrovert as a child, I was. I think I was like more of an introvert than I am now, anyway.
For sure.
Okay, and the last thing that comes to mind is again, you and our mom loved sunny weather. It was your favorite weather. And it wasn't my favorite weather. So I always thought I don't care about the sun. I don't need the sun as much as you guys say you do.
What was your favorite weather then?
My favorite weather when I was a kid, I always thought that I liked breezy weather. It's not
Okay.
about weather, okay?
Okay.
It's about the sun.
Okay.
So what I learned in my early 20s, like being out of the home for the first time, and it's like you you think all these things about yourself, and then you live and you're like, wait. Or that's how it was
Who
for
am
me, at
I?
least.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all of those things were like, well, hold on, I'm not who I thought I was. So first of all, I learned I need music. Especially when I was depressed, I need music to help me feel cheerful. And I just want to listen to music like all the time. Not
Oh, I
all the
didn't know you
time,
feel that way.
half the time.
That's still a lot.
Sometimes, occasionally.
Okay.
The second thing I talked about was, about being a homebody. I'm not that much of a homebody. I do like to stay home and be in my own company and not do very much, but I also really need to go out and do things more than I realized especially in order to keep my mental health, but also just because I enjoy it. Third thing was about being an
The sun.
introvert. I'm not as much of an
The sun.
introvert as I no, the last thing was the sun.
Oh.
I'm not as much of an introvert as I believed I was. And then fourth thing is the sun. This was a big lesson. When I chose my university, I wanted to go to Scotland, and my mom was like, "Oh, but you won't get enough sun. It's not very sunny. It's rainy. It's dark. Blah 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 blah." I was like,
But
"I
it's
don't care about
free.
that, honestly." I kept telling her, "Honestly, I don't care about that. I'm fine. Like I'm not like you. I'm fine without it." No, no, I need the sun just as much as anyone else. AKA, I ain't that special.
You think it's about being special?
No. No, just I wanted to AKA it.
Oh, okay, fine. Fine.
That's what I learned specifically about myself is like a lot of unlearning a lot of things that I thought about myself because I had compared to you and
Mm,
my mom, and then learning that actually I ain't that special. I'm just the same as everyone else.
mm,
Just maybe you and my mom were more extreme in certain qualities.
mm. Yeah. It is a real phenomenon that happens in relationships, like
Mm,
romantic, family, whatever, but also very much so with siblings, where you polarize each other.
yeah,
Like you might have certain differences in your character, but because you're siblings and because you're so close, you make each other more extreme, and you
yeah,
identify with like the extreme version that is different from your sibling, and then you
yeah,
start to actually
totally.
embody that person. And it happens with romantic relationships too.
Yeah, can we go back to me again? Um,
Okay.
this is exactly, yeah, when I was like in a long relationship from when I was 20 until I was 25 and a half. I was in a relationship where I learned things about myself that I didn't know before. And not just because, you're experiencing things for the first time, but because you're comparing yourself to that person.
Mm.
So, like, one of the things was that uh, he was a little more, he was probably a little more, but like, because there's two of us in the relationship, it seems like a lot more um, driven by emotion in terms of how he looked at our relationship and how he felt about certain things that happened between us. It was like about how he felt about it. For me, it was like, it doesn't matter how I feel about it. If I can justify it and reason it, that's what matters.
Mm.
So I I identified in my 20s as a very logical, rational person. And actually now maybe I'm drifting out of that. Like I don't know if I'm the most logical, rational person compared to most people. It's just yeah, you polarize.
You are also very emotional, I think.
Excuse me?
Yeah, I think you are an emotional person. But I think we're
What do you mean?
Like, your emotions can be strong, and you can react with your emotions quite easily when they are strong, but you're also very logical.
Okay. Well, it sounds like the average person to me.
I guess so, but well, I guess so. I think there's a lot to unpack here because I feel similar but not quite in the same way. Like, I don't react with emotions very much, but I feel things
No, you
deeply.
don't. Yeah.
Like, I'm very sensitive, and maybe romantic is one way to put it. Not romantic in the sense of like love, but like romanticized. I don't know. I feel things deeply, but I'm not very emotionally reactive at all. But I'm also
Yeah.
logical and rational. I
Yeah.
think you are more emotional than me in your um, reactions.
Hmm.
Anywho, this is quite a long recording, which is
Sorry.
fine. But shall I? No, it's great. I've loved it. But shall I go into a specific lesson I've learned about myself?
Not interested. Yes, please.
Okay. So I've reflected on this quite a lot in recent years, which is I think I might have like some people pleasing tendencies, but I've never really felt that that's been a problem for me. But what is sometimes a problem for me is my insistence on doing right by people, which is different than pleasing people. It's doing
Mm-hmm.
right by them because you can displease them but do right by them.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm very, and I don't know where I got this from, but it's extremely important to me to do right by people, especially if they're people that I love. And I'll spend a lot of time like contemplating how I should approach a situation, like really overthinking it and like trying to find the perfect way to respond or root forward in a conflict, stuff like that. But what I have noticed in myself is that I think as a result of that, I sometimes have a hard time recognizing when I've done wrong by people because it's so difficult for me to accept when I have done wrong by people.
Okay.
And I'll sometimes go into a bit of denial about it, and then I respond not in the best way because I'm in denial
Mm.
about it. So I've had to learn to be very aware of that and like
Any
listen.
examples?
I do have one, but it's a really old example. But there was somebody who I cared very much about when I was younger. This is a long time ago. It was like teenage. But for some reason I was thinking about it recently. And they're expressing to me that they were upset about my romantic decisions. And they're expressing it in a really nice way. Like they were being really vulnerable with the way they feel. They weren't attacking me, but they're basically expressing like, I'm upset that you've made this decision, kind of. And at the time, I couldn't face the fact that I hurt that person, that my response was to get defensive and to suddenly bring up other stuff that had hurt me in my relationship with that person. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
I should have just been like, firstly, just absorb what it is they're saying and be like, I'm sorry you feel that way, like acknowledge it, whatever. But I just kind of imploded because I couldn't face the fact that I'd hurt them with the decision that I'd made. And I noticed, throughout my relationship over the last 10 years that occasionally in a conversation where he was trying to express something I did wrong by him, I would notice that my brain literally starts to shut down. Like, I cannot hear the words. And I have to like really try to listen because my brain like doesn't want me to listen, which is not good. But I have to like be really intentional now to like let myself listen, take a minute, and try to respond with accountability. But in order for me to have learned to do that, I've had to give myself a lot of grace for hurting somebody, and like a bit of self-forgiveness, basically, for something that I've done wrong. And I've learned to do that a lot better now. But it really, when I recognized that that was my pattern and it was rooted in this need to do right by people, I was able to start addressing it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Like that, the counterintuitiveness or the counterproductiveness of it. Like, because you try to be so kind, you don't want to hear that you haven't been kind, and then you'll be
And then you end up
unkind
unkind.
to like deflect on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's super unproductive. But it's been a really important lesson for me. Sorry, you were going to say?
No, because what I was going to say was really unimportant. It's back to Married at First Sight Australia.
Oh, okay. Go on.
There was a
And then
guy
we
on
should close
there
up.
who was okay. There was a guy on there who's a self-proclaimed nice guy. He like obviously really identifies as being nice, and before he got married, he specifically said like looks don't matter. No, 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 no. And then he got paired with someone he wasn't attracted to, and suddenly like the worst person came out of him, and it was really infuriating and really interesting to see. But it made me I literally had to like pause it because the things he was saying was I won't go into detail, you don't want to hear
Okay.
it, but I had to pause it and go like you've been like faced with the truth that you're not as nice as you think, and now you're like exploding at the situation because now you're not in control of that thing that you believed about yourself. You're not as nice as you thought, and now like the reaction was awful.
Yeah. Totally. I can relate to that. I mean, it's not that extreme for me, but
No.
I can definitely relate to that. Like it's so important to me to be good. But now that I've allowed myself to accept a bit of bad, I guess, or it's like you can have very pure intentions and still do bad, and it's okay. It's okay. That's just life. And like sometimes there's no perfect way to navigate a situation. So the more acceptance I have of that, the easier it is for me to take accountability for when I've done wrong by people. But it's hard for me.
Yeah, but you rarely do wrong by people.
Yeah, because I'm always obsessing about how to do right by people. It's so exhausting, man. God damn.
It must be. I can't imagine.
Anyway, okay, let's close up.
All right. This podcast was sponsored by Married at First Sight Australia.
Yeah. I've enjoyed this. I think there's a lot in there. We'll do a part 2 eventually, I'm sure. And the next time we do a recording, wait, is this right? Yeah, I think the next time we do a recording, I'm going to be in a new place.
Oh,
so that's
are
exciting.
you? When are you moving?
This Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yes, exciting.
And also, we're going to have our friend Fabrizio on with us.
Correct. Yeah, so we're having our first guest.
I assume he's going to go on by his real name. So, I just said
so.
it.
Okay. I think our topic is going to be touching on adult friendships.
I think so.
Mostly.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of dating. But I'm really excited for it. Oh, okay. Maybe just adult friendships then.
You guys can talk about dating. I'll just be in the back like...
What? But you've got so much to say.
With my cigarette.
You've got so much to say about it. Okay, well, we'll see. So stay tuned. Thanks, guys, for listening. Lots of love, and see you next time.
Yeah, I'm excited for next time. Bye!
Bye!